Hello and welcome to another episode of Cowboys Takeover pregame show. Our boys are headed to Levi Stadium, and that's what you see in the background here. We're going to break down this game. We have a special guest today. Let me bring in Jason, because you know what? We've had this game circled since the schedule came out, and here we are. So let me bring in Jason. This guy's pumped. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fabulous, Mr. Aaron James. How about yourself? You're right, dude. This has been a game, I think, we've circled all year. It's one of those games that is a big game, but them and the Eagles were the games we needed to look at to really for this season. So I think you're absolutely right. This is a huge game this weekend.
Huge game, playoff implications, division implications, seeding implications, bragging rights implications. You name it. That's why they have this game on Sunday Night Football, right? Prime time game on the West Coast. So let's dive right in. Let's bring in our guest. Jason, you want to introduce our special guest today? We're bringing in a Niners faithful.
It is. It's a dude who I've gone back and forth with throughout the years. 20 plus years of friendship. Me and him go back and forth with these two teams. Mr. Zack DeGarmo. Zack, how are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic. Game week, boys. Let's go.
Man, So I do think it's, like you said, it's a big game. I think we should dive right in, and we'll start with asking you this question, Mr. Zack DeGarmo. After last 2 years, we've seen these two teams play in the playoffs. They faced each other. Last 2 years, San Fran's knocked Dallas out of the playoffs, which is really tough to say. But do you think we really learned anything? And is there anything we could take away from last season's playoff game? Because both the teams are pretty much intact from what was there last season. Can we take anything away from that game and really bring it into this game this week?
I mean, it's basically the same roster except for minor changes to each defense. I mean, I don't see major changes from either team. I mean, Dallas's defense might have got a little better with Parsons with an extra year underneath of his belt, and Van Der Esch has been killing it too himself. They got a little bit more of a formidable defense, but San Fran also, I think, upgraded their offensive line as well as you know, Jay. We're not going to see McGlinchey getting thrown around by a forearm. So, I mean, it can only be about the same. I'm predicting like a low-scoring type of game, very similar to before.
I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with you. I think, both the teams are pretty much intact from what we saw last year in that playoff game. And when you really look at that playoff game, it was a very close game. I know San Fran jumped out to that really quick and early lead that game. And Dallas could just never figure it out. And the one thing I'm worried about is my biggest issue is Dak. San Fran shut down Dallas's run game and really made Dallas one-dimensional that game. They couldn't run the ball. Zeke couldn't get going. Zeke's not there. It felt like we could do a lot of things with Pollard, though. So it'll be nice to see if he's there for the full game. But I do think at the end of the day, San Fran's really going to, do what they've done the last couple of days and shut down the run game and really make Dak try to beat him, which I don't know if Dak can at this point.
Yeah, Dak is the focal point. I think if you're the Cowboys, right, you don't want McCaffrey to beat you, and if you're the Niners, you don't want Tony Pollard in the run game to have any success. I have a lot of thoughts about the playoff game last year, but all in all, it was a game, a one possession game for basically the entire game. It was 9-6, if I recall correctly, at halftime. So you got DQ against Kyle Shanahan. To me, that's the coaches matchup right there. And McCarthy, he really hasn't impressed me with his play calling and getting Dak in a rhythm. But I just think that because of the types of blowouts wins we've had this year, he's just kind of held on to a lot of the play calling. So I just feel like one advantage we have is we haven't shown a whole lot, and once that's not showing here is CeeDee Lamb had, if I recall correctly, around 110 receiving yards in that playoff game last year. So I mean, like Zach was saying, basically the same roster now. You guys did add Hargraves, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big addition there. And what I was talking with Jason about in the green room was that Cowboys, the additions we had in the offseason with Gilmore and Cooks, what we had in mind was, how are we going to beat the Niners and how are we going to beat the Eagles? Now, it's unfortunate that Diggs is out, but Bland has stepped up. He's a ball hawk, and I think he's going to prove himself to be a valuable number 2. But both these teams, for the most part, same. I anticipate a close game. Now, the 49ers are favored by 3.5 points. Generally speaking, the home team's going to
get 3 points.
Home team gets 3 points, right?
Dallas winning now.
For what it's worth.
So I do have a question for you, Zach, because you've been watching them all year. You see them. Last year we did hold McCaffrey. I think it was 3.5 yards a carry. So they did very well against McCaffrey. Do you think this week McCaffrey, with that year under his belt, learning a little bit more? I know in the beginning of that year, once he got traded, he did play great. Do you think he's going to have a bigger impact? Do you think he'll look better with that extra year under his belt and really feast on what Dallas is, what we all perceive Dallas's weakness to be, is that run game?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to do with, I don't think it's him. I think that Purdy's playing so well that it's just opening up everything. I mean, he's not the highest draft pick, all that. We've all heard it. But we can't deny, what difference does it make? The dude's balling out, and I think it helps everything. And the experience from the playoffs last year in a huge game. This is the next biggest game after that. I mean, he ruptured his elbow in the first quarter against the Eagles, but you know what I mean? Like, this is the next big marquee game that he is going to be a part of. And he's got one big game under his belt where we won, in the playoffs. And I just think that I think he just opens up so much, and I think that includes McCaffrey, and him just being so good helps as well.
I agree. You gave a stat earlier. We got to throw it out there. You sent it to me this week. This kid's really the highest rated quarterback in the league. He's got the highest QBR, the highest rated passer in the league.
What was that?
Highest rated passer in the league. Yeah, I bet it is. But I think Dallas's strength is their ability to take the ball away. I think losing Diggs, I think that's a huge loss for them. When you look at, like Aaron said, we tried to upgrade this team. When you're looking at a San Fran, when you're looking at the Eagles, you bring in Gilmore to have opposite of Diggs. Diggs goes down. And I just think the dangerous thing about San Fran is they have so many different weapons. Ayuk has really turned in, to a number 1 receiver. He's a better receiver than Debo, and people look at Debo as this all-star, but Debo gives you a little bit of everything. And then people seem to forget, I know, Mr. Aaron James and myself were talking about this a little earlier. People seem to forget about Kittle. He seems like the lost guy. And this was a dude a couple years ago, what was it, the most receiving yards in a season? I think he had, it was either catches, receiving yards, or touchdowns. I know he broke one of those records. But, they just have so many weapons. I think losing Diggs may hurt a big time because you're not – who do you stop? I don't know if you can really focus on one player on the San Fran team with what you said, Zach, the experience that Purdy's had now with the year under his belt. I said it last year to everybody. I said it to you. My other friend, Chris, I said it to, Purdy he wasn't ever a guy last year that really won you the games, but he certainly wasn't a quarterback that lost you the games. I think that's the big difference. When you look at Dak, I feel like earlier this year against Arizona, Dak struggled. He had the interception. last year, the last 2 seasons, I felt like we lost to San Fran because Dak lost us the game at the end. And Purdy has shown the ability and the moxie. He's not going to lose you the game. He's going to make the right decision 99% of the time. And it shows this year with 0 interceptions, 5 touchdowns, highest rated quarterback in the league. So whatever people want to say about him in a low draft pick, he understands the game. So when you look at it this season, if you look at both of the teams, I think I know what you're going to say. Who do you feel has been the more impressive team this season?
I mean, they did play a common opponent, right?
They did. They had, well, didn't they play 2? Did San Fran play Arizona too yet?
That's who it was.
Yeah,
and the Giants too.
Oh yeah,
they played the
Giants
Giants too. Yeah, there's 2.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at it, they're 1-1. I mean, 50% of the beginning schedule already, they've shared a common opponent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And but we've seen this game matters just for seeding and stuff. But in the grand scheme of it, if y'all win, Dak got to do it again.
He does.
And he could do it in week 5. We all know he could do it in week 5. Can he do it in January and February? You know? So I think Dak will play pretty well. I mean, I don't think he's going to be lights out, you know, but I think he'll play decent enough. I think it's going to be a really close game, and the turnovers might matter.
Yeah. I mean, I think you almost had us there with the Cardinals example, but we, you know, what we did to the Giants. I mean, they were hanging in there through the first half.
Everybody has done that to the Giants, other than who?
The Cardinals.
I mean,
we did have 3 offensive linemen out against the Cardinals game.
Yeah,
we did.
So
I'll give that.
And you know, it was what I call traditional upset game. I mean, what Cowboys were favored 12 points going into that game. So the margin for error in the NFL, you know, we see these anomalies happen throughout the season. And usually, you know, we call them the trap games. We typically see those more often in division games, but that, I guess, you know, that I could also flip that on the other side because you guys have a lot of familiarity with the Cardinals, you know, even more so than us. But so with that being said, you know, Niners, they come to the East Coast to start the season and handle the Steelers. You know, even a lot of the professional analysts predicted a potential upset there with Mike Tomlin being able to do a Tomlin-esque performance. But we kind of know what the Steelers are now. They just really haven't put anything together. You know, Giants, Cardinals. I mean, what I just see with the 49ers is consistency, and they've been basically able to do whatever they've wanted. You know, when I see Purdy drop back, he's able to look up at the screens and see where his receivers are going, and not even looking at the field. Like, he can look at the screens and decide from there who he wants to throw. He has that much time. So I think we're really going to have to, you know, one of my keys to the game is our defensive line. Are we going to be able to put pressure on Purdy? Because if we can't, and he just is going to be able to sit back, yeah, I don't think anyone can beat the Niners under that scenario.
I agree with you there, Aaron, because you look, you know, as much as like Zach said earlier, McGlinchey last year when you're watching him, he wasn't the best offensive lineman. and Purdy has been one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league this year. So so everything I just said about him, that he doesn't lose the games, you know, it's tough to really brag this kid up, you know, highest rated QBR rating, least sacked quarterback, no interception, makes the right plays. I do think San Fran's been the more impressive team overall, you know, and to me, it has to do with, you know, an emergence and really, I don't want to say a resurrection of his career, but everybody kind of counted McCaffrey out. There were pundits saying that was a C+ trade. They didn't really do anything. But I think, to me, he's been the most impressive out of everybody. You know, he's got the rushing lead by over 100 yards. He averages 5.7 yards a carry. He's got 6 touchdowns, 114 yards rushing. And that's just his rushing. This dude is dynamic out of the backfield. He does, you know, he's probably, when healthy, is the best running back in the league. and he probably deserves votes, and he probably deserves the MVP for the first quarter of the season. He's been that impressive. So I think, as much as Zach said earlier, Brock improving takes pressure off of everyone else and off of McCaffrey. With the way McCaffrey's been, I think it really opens up Brock, because you can't rush the quarterback. You can't just pin your ears back. Something that Dallas has done so well against really everyone but Arizona, because they got the lead. I don't think they can do that against them. You're going to have to give a 4 or 5 man rush and really hope to contain McCaffrey. So to me, I really believe San Fran has been the more impressive team this season. They got stars all over. They've really pretty much dominated. I know they haven't, they've played in a couple of closer games, but they've really I don't think any game I've watched, I don't think they've been in trouble of losing any of those games. I know the Rams game was close at the end, but I don't think anybody felt they were going to lose that game. Dallas, to me, I can't say they've been more impressive, because when you watch that Arizona game, they really stank. It was a bad game, all around. So I just, San Fran, it's tough that when you come on a Cowboys podcast as a Cowboy, you have to pick up the other team. It really hurts. But the next thing, I'll start with you. I'll throw this one to you first, Mr. Aaron James. What stat line, when you're looking at this team, what stat line you think will determine the winner? So what stat line, what will it be? Who's going to have it? What is it? Rushing, passing, defense? What do you think is going to be the key to this game?
Yeah, so if I'm going to stick with one stat line, where when we see it, Sunday at midnight our time, that should tell you who won the game, I'm going to go with rushing yards. I think whoever comes up on top with the most rushing yards, that I believe that's gonna be time of possession. That's gonna be line of scrimmage. That's gonna determine who controls the line of scrimmage. The amount of first downs you're gonna get, likely the red zone success. So for me, whoever wins the rushing yards for the game is gonna win the game. That's my prediction.
Who do you think? If you had to guess, what team has more rushing yards?
It's hard to say. Well, I want to know, if the Cowboys have all their starters and Tyrone Smith plays, we have a chance. The thing is that McCaffrey, with one spin move, can take it to the house. And same for Pollard, though. With right. A crease and a cut against a safety, he can take it to the house as well. So it's hard to say. I mean, I think if it was pound for pound, the Niners probably edge us by 25, 30 yards. But if it comes down to big plays, which both teams are capable of, defenses are going to have to be disciplined. We have a fighting chance for sure.
Zach, what do you think?
I think I like what he said, because based on what I heard earlier this week, I heard a stat somewhere that said that percentage of plays, San Fran's getting passed on more than any team in the NFL.
Wow.
Which is shocking to me. Mm-hmm. So based on that, I don't know. Now, will Dallas buck the trend and just try to run it down our throat if they get an early lead or something happens? I just think San Fran will have the most rushing yards. They got two guys that can run the ball with Debo and McCaffrey. I mean, Debo could take one play 50 yards. There's 50 already out of 150 possible for the game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not saying that Pollard can't. It's just when you have 2-on-1, all things similar, that's why. But I think turnovers are going to be the key. I think it's a turnover, because San Fran hasn't really had to go up against that yet this season, where they've lost a turnover battle or looked really bad with an interception in our own territory, whereas Dallas has, and they've had to try to overcome that and stuff like that, where San Fran hasn't. So I think it'll come down to the turnover battle, because defenses are so good, and that's just how I feel.
Man, you both throw some valid points. I do think I agree with the turnovers, but I think that goes hand in hand with rushing, because I do believe the team that's going to have the turnovers is going to be down. They're going to have to throw a lot, and the other team's going to run. To me, I do think that rushing stat is going to be huge. Because to me, yeah, you're controlling the clock. You're up. Now the difference is we've seen Dallas up and still not run the ball a lot. I think that needs to trend. That trend needs to stop. Even last week they didn't run as much as you expected them to run, blowing out New England. They still were passing a decent amount, which I didn't like to see. I just think looking at this, San Fran averages first 4 games. Yeah, San Fran's averaging 153, Dallas 141. But I think when I look at it, that San Fran defense is built a little bit better. My biggest worry with Dallas, I know they're running the ball well. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, those two dudes are thumpers. Fred's a sideline to sideline back. He reminds you a lot of the great linebackers, the Kuechly's, the Willis's. He's in that. He can do it all. So I do think whoever wins that rushing stat's going to win this game. Because to me, if I was shocked, people are, but it makes sense because San Fran's blowing everybody out pretty much. You have to throw against them. But I don't know if Dallas can get it going. I think San Fran, what's worked for them is making Dak beat them, and Dak hasn't proven it yet. He's the last 2 playoff games, 2 interceptions last year he had, and neither one of them were good interceptions. It's not like they were his fault. So it worries me. I think that rushing stat, and I think it goes hand in hand with turnovers, because I think whoever wins that turnover battle should be running more. So looking into that, Zach, who needs to win this game more?
Dallas. Because come playoff time, if they lost in the regular season when it doesn't really matter, it's really going to be pressure bound come January. And also, they're already 1 game away from Philly. If they lose, now they're 2. I think Philly plays another bum team again. Oh, yeah, they play the Rams. But it's on the road, so that might be interesting. But Stafford's banged up. So that's potentially 2 games that you're out already this early in the season. So I think it's more important for Dallas. I think they might come out swinging for the fences, maybe do some surprise stuff just for that factor. But I do think it matters more to Dallas. And it matters. Like they have to, just to keep pace.
We can't hear you, Mr. Aaron.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
I agree. But you're saying, Zach, that it's more due to the psyche of the team. But for me, I think I'm not really worried about the psyche of the defense and how this may carry over into a playoff game if we face each other again, which I think we will. I think it has to do more with the schedule and keeping pace with the Eagles. If we were 4-0 as the Niners are, I probably, it'd be a different type of thought process, but I don't think we can afford to go back 2 games against the Eagles in our division. And I think most Eagles fans are also rooting for the Cowboys. Because if you look at the 49ers schedule, it's not that overwhelming, especially compared to the Eagles. I think the Niners are probably, I think we were talking, estimating 4 or 5 losses for them. I think 4. I don't see them having more than 3 if they stay healthy this year. So from a schedule perspective, I think Cowboys, it's more important that we win. If we don't win, we're gonna have to, in my opinion, sweep the Eagles to have a chance to win the division.
I'm gonna go 3 for 3 with Cowboys. And to me, it's definitely not about seeding, because you've seen the last 2 years. We go in the Levi, we get beat down. San Fran comes in the AT&T, we get beat down. So
and we take it over.
Yeah, so to me, this game for the seeding doesn't matter much. I think it matters more for the psyche of the team.
Okay.
I think it's more important for Dallas because you want to beat San Fran. They've been that notch the last 2 years, and I don't think this is the most important game, because if we make the playoffs, that's a team we could see again. So I think you want Dak getting that kind of monkey off his back, showing he can do it. But when you look, I think you're right, Aaron. When you look at the schedules, we still play the Eagles twice. Now we thought last week we said it was a must-win game. You can't go 2-2 going into San Fran because I think all of us pretty much thought this could be a loss. But when you look at the teams Dallas plays the rest of the year, they play the Eagles twice still. You play the Bills, you play the Dolphins, who are, and you still play Detroit. So Dallas has a schedule that we thought may have been a little bit easier. Looks pretty tough right now. So I think just keeping pace with the Eagles is much more important for Dallas. So I think that's why it's a much bigger game for Dallas than it is San Fran, because San Fran's undefeated. They're going to win that division. They're more than likely going to be a top 2 seed. When I look at Dallas' schedule now, I don't know if they can get there. The Eagles, while they may not be playing the best ball right now, they're still undefeated. So you can't really – Dallas has to keep match with them. Another question I haven't really thought about, Mr. Zack, I want to ask you. I don't know why I keep calling you Mr. Zack. Trey Lance, do you think that has any impact on the defense this week for Dallas? Because he's been there a few years with Shanahan. So he knows the playbook. He knows what they're doing. Do you think that could be a big factor in Dallas's defense this week? Because I'm sure they try to change it up some, but the verbiage isn't going to change. So he's going to know a lot of the checks. He's going to be able to give some of that stuff to Dallas. Does that worry you at all?
0. Because if he knew the playbook, he'd be the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. I mean,
that's a good point.
He's an emergency quarterback. He's probably doing the scout team, which guaranteed all that stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, he's a smart kid. Yeah, he can maybe tell you, but Shanahan knows. I mean, he's played former people that have been on other teams and stuff that they've tried all that. It doesn't usually matter because the players still have to make plays. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, there might be a tell on something, but I don't think Trey Lance is the guy that's going to give the tell.
Aaron, you feel the same way?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think the thing is that Trey Lance has been in the coaches' meetings, right? The prep game talks. Kyle Shanahan is saying, this is what I want to attack on their defense. This is how we're going to slow down Parsons. This is how we're going to go after their DBs. So I think from that perspective, it will, DQ could probably say, hey, yeah, we knew those things already. Or he might learn a nugget or two. So it's really hard to say, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah. On to the next, I think this is the big one. I think who shines the most is going to determine who wins. So what player do you think shines the most this Sunday night coming in, primetime game, the lights are on, national televised game? What player comes out and shines the most this weekend?
You asking?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go a little different. Pull up that stats graphic that you had a little bit ago.
All right.
You see that sacks?
Yeah. That's a...
Wait. San Fran only has 2 sacks this season?
San Fran hasn't gotten going yet.
Oh, they've only...
They have 9.
I think it's Bosa.
Okay.
I think
really
big primetime game Sunday night, maybe a strip sack fumble. It might not matter in the grand scheme of the stat sheet where he gets 1, but it might be at that key moment where Dallas has to score and he gets a strip sack fumble or something on their own 20. You know what I mean? I think he's going to have a key role in this whole thing just based on 2 to 14. They got to get going at some point. They have too many guys. We're getting close, but that don't count.
Home every time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Aaron, who's shining the most for you this week?
I'm gonna go. I'm a confessed Dak believer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Dak surpasses expectations. He's really ticked off at the media for kind of throwing the playoff game in his face all week long. And I say, he pulled Mike McCarthy aside and said, "Yo, let's start talking about what you're drawing up for me, because I want to go out there and make a statement." So I'm going to say Dak does plenty, and he has an efficient game, productive game. I'm not going to lose sleep if he throws an interception or two, because he's going to have to go out there and sling it to win. I'm not sure if depending on how our offensive line looks, that's going to play a factor. But I'm saying, if Dak shows up and shows out, we'll be just fine.
So I'm not saying this because he's my number one fantasy draft pick and I have him on my team. I do think Christian McCaffrey is going to have himself a day. This Dallas run defense, I think what you said, they went out, you drafted Mozzie Smith in the first round. You got Hankins. I just think, yes, they shut him down last year. McCaffrey's on a different level this season. Every team knows he's the guy. And you saw San Fran try to limit him some 2 weeks ago. And last week with Elijah Mitchell out, he's a guy that he's going to touch he should touch the ball 25 times a game. He's that dynamic. And I don't know if Dallas has an answer for him because they don't have the linebackers that are thumpers. So you don't have somebody that's going to really come up and make the big play. That's what I'm nervous about. I think this is, the first 2 weeks we really thought the Giants and the Jets were going to try to run the ball. Dallas shut them down. Week 3 against Arizona, you saw Dobbs do a little bit. Connor was really a monster against us, and he looked like Jerome Bettis, which was not cool. But McCaffrey's a different beast. We're not going to see a running back like this kid all season. I just don't know if we have I don't know if we have an answer for him because, that left tackle, that boy's a big boy, and you don't want to see him hit nobody. Because Dallas, I do think if Dallas gets up, we've seen it all year. Dallas gets up, they rush the quarterback, they get to him. But I don't know if you're going to get up against San Fran. You can't focus. And even if you do, even if you get up some, you still can't focus on it because McCaffrey can take it 80 yards. Debo can take it 80 yards. They could do those quick screens. And I just think McCaffrey is going to be the guy that will shine. He's going to be the guy that Dallas has to focus on the most. Because you stop him, you make it one-dimensional. Purdy hasn't had to go out and win games this season at all. They haven't needed to. You give the ball to McCaffrey, you do your dump offs. I think you have to not let him be the guy that does. But I don't know if this Dallas defense they don't have, if you, we said earlier in the year, before the season started, Aaron, if you could take one player from another team, to me, it was Fred Warner. If you had a Fred Warner in the middle of this defense, he's a great athletic linebacker, sideline to sideline, fast. He's a guy that you could just put on McCaffrey when he runs, when he passes, put him there. I don't think Leighton's 100% not that guy. He's just not. So to me, I think McCaffrey shines, and that's going to open up the whole offense for San Fran. And I feel really bad because this is a Dallas podcast. I just think San Fran, to me, they're the best team in football right now, and I don't like it, and it's bugging me.
They're definitely one of the most complete team. McCaffrey. One thing we could hope for as Cowboy fans is that he's sore after 4 games in the season, and that slows him down. Maybe he has a bruise on his thigh that we don't know about. That's annoying him. That's like the main thing we can hope for. But I just don't think Dan Quinn is gonna allow for that to happen. Now, who is he gonna put on McCaffrey? I think it's gonna make for a lot more zone play. To have we're gonna bring a safety down. We have Donovan. We have 3 safeties. That are speedy guys. Van Der Esch is not the answer. He's not the Van Der Esch of the past. But we're gonna, I know we're gonna do our best to slow him down. But yeah, he can definitely beat us. But I do think also, and we'll talk about it more in the post game. But depending on how the Niners decide to take advantage of us, one benefit of having this game in early October is we can go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And if we have to make a blockbuster trade or 2, we have a lot of draft capital. We can look to make something happen. So I think we're fortunate to be playing the 49ers this early in the season and not, after the trade deadline.
I agree with you on that point. That's a great point. I think this is the testing block. This is it right here. Week 5, you're in the season, trade week Trade deadline's a few weeks away. I think this is huge. The one question I had for you, Zach, I know last year we talked a lot about it. So their DBs, I felt like got pass interference almost. They're getting 2 or 3 pass interference calls a game. Greenlaw, he's still Greenlaw. He's still going to hit you late.
He's getting that 15.
He's getting it. He's getting it at some point.
Every time the game's on, I say, yo, he's about to get one.
He's getting one
10
every
minutes
time.
later, he gets one.
But so did those DBs, are they still having the pass interferences? I know they were really struggling in their pass defense last year.
Oh no, our pass defense is better than it was last year. Lenore, he was like our 5th round draft pick or 6th round, something crazy late last year. So he was a rookie last year. He's like basically 1A to Jardavis Ward. But yeah, I mean, but the problem is, like, we get to the San Fran pass rush gets there so fast that they're getting little dump offs and stuff. So like Josh Dobbs last week was literally half a second hike, throw the ball, 2-yard pass. If the guy breaks a tackle, it's 5, but it's just nickel and dime all the way up the field. But I don't know.
Yeah, when I look at this too, I was just looking up, you're looking up the injury report this week. The one thing that bothers me a little bit. So for Dallas, the injury report this weekend, Micah Parsons is questionable. He's been coming up a lot limping this year. I don't like it. He's the biggest one. They got Damon Clark and Lee Cooker, Peyton Hendershot are all questionable. When you look on San Fran's side, Debo, Juwan Jennings, Greenlaw, Ward, and Mitchell, I feel like, but the questionable is the new probable. I don't even know if they do probable anymore. I think it's all questionable. I think you see most of those guys play. Is Greenlaw or any of those guys really hurt, or is it more they just have them on there? They're not, put them up there to put them up there. They're most likely going to play on their side.
Everything I've seen, everybody's a go. I know Greenlaw was limited last week. I didn't see anything this week on him. I didn't get no alerts or nothing like that. And I know Debo was limited last week. I think they didn't use Debo last week
to show
like
off.
They only used him in the running game a little bit just to because he's a little banged up, and it didn't really matter once you take control of the game. So I think everybody's pretty healthy. I think everybody's playing for San Fran.
I'd assume, right? Mike is going to play. He's even last week, he came up limping 3-4 times, I said it to you, past few weeks, kids coming up limping, I want to see him out of the game early because you have games like this that we need him. So I do think it's going to be a full side. It does stink that Diggs isn't playing and he's done for the season. But you really can't harp on that stuff. So I do think it'll be a full complement of players on both sides. So with that, we'll start with you, Aaron James. Cowboys win if.
All right. So I'm going to go at this a different way from the rushing stat that I commented on earlier. I think that the Cowboys will win. My magic number for this game is if they can score 23 points. If they can somehow put up 23 points, they're likely going to need the help of the defense with at least good field position, whether it be a forced punt or a turnover. We're going to need to cash in. We're aware of our red zone problems. We didn't get into that today, but 23 points is my magic number. I think if we are short of that,
that's a low magic number though against the San Fran team.
That's true.
They haven't scored 20 yet though.
Who?
Dallas against San Fran last 2 years.
No. Well,
look, 18 or something back-to-back years or something crazy. Yeah.
San Fran hasn't scored less than 30 yet this season. So
if you win by 1, all you needed to score was what?
1. That's all we need. I agree. That's okay. They hold them. They got to hold San Fran. Dallas scores that. Man, I think that's a little disrespectful. I think San Fran's offense is too good. I think they're going to need much more points than that. I think it's going to. I'm going to disagree with both you guys, and I think it's going to be a super offensive game. But Zach, for the Cowboys to win, what needs to happen? And don't give me San Fran not showing up. Okay?
No, I mean that's obvious. I didn't want to do that to you. But the only way they win is if, it's not even necessarily that they'll win, but their best shot to win is if you have the lead without Dak with the ball in his hands. I'm not meaning that Dak has not been good in any type of crunch time, lead you down the field against an elite defense or, something like all eyes on you moment. So, they can win. Like, let's say they have the lead 24-23 and Purdy's got the ball. Yeah, now you rely on your defense. You can win. But I think if Dak has the ball 23-24, Dak will probably Dak.
The sad thing is I agree with that because I'm out of the two hosts for this show, one of us is a Dak supporter and one of us is not. And I'm definitely not the Dak supporter. I think Dallas is going to have, I think that I agree. I think their defense is going to have to shut them down. I really think they're going to have to, I think it's twofold. I think that defense has to get takeaways. I think you have to win the takeaway battle. And I think you have to win it by 2 or 3. It can't just be, +1. You have to be +2, +3. And to me, that means 3 Dallas takeaways and no San Fran takeaways. Because to me, that means you're putting Dak in a good position. And I think Dak has to play. This is the game I need Dak to show up and show out. Really, you got paid. You want to get paid again. You did a 4-year contract. You're going to hit free agency again. For Dallas to really, I think, make that decision on him, what we've seen the last 2 weeks or last 2 meetings against San Fran, he isn't that guy at the end of the game that's going to go win it for you. So he has to have a big game. To me, I'd much rather see. Oh, I agree with you. You don't want him there at the end of the game, Zach. I'd rather see that because to me, I want to see if that growth is there. I said this season, if for us to make any noise in the playoffs, Dak has to be that guy. So I really think Dak has to have a huge game, and you have to win the playoff battle or the turnover battle by at least +2, +3.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to see Dak with the ball in his hands with 2 minutes left. Trust me, I want to see that, but that's what I'm saying. I mean,
no, yeah,
he's done it. It's
but
possible.
Not against the San Fran team. That's the thing. There's got to be something up there when you're consistently losing against the same team, and you have the opportunity the last two seasons to go and win that game. Dak had the opportunity to go do it and take them down. Like we've seen it before. Dak go down against average teams and lead them down game-winning drives. Against that San Fran team and that San Fran defense, they have his number. So I think he has to have a big game.
I feel like we're talking about Dak like he's the primetime Kirk Cousins. And he is not.
He feels like it. He feels like it sometimes.
The primetime Kirk Cousins, where Kirk just loses primetime games. It's just a guarantee at this point. He's Dak can ball. You look at what he did Christmas Eve against the Eagles Super Bowl defense last year, put up 40 points, and he spotted them 7 points by throwing a dump off to Sweat pick 6.
Yeah.
So. And you look at what Dak was able to do with Noah Brown. And so that, to me, it comes down to McCarthy, the play calling, the tempo. Now, I think if it's a shootout, that benefits the Niners. I think if it's a low-scoring game, that benefits the Cowboys. Because that means our defense is doing their job. All right. And that's gonna give us the opportunities we need to separate ourselves and get some points on the board.
So Aaron, we'll start with you. Niners win if.
Niners will win if, let me see if I could think of something a little bit more creative than kind of what we've already discussed and harped on with CMC going crazy. I mean, if there's a lot of ways they can beat us. To be honest. I mean, if their D-line controls the trenches, and Dak doesn't have the time back there. That's a concern of mine because Dick Cooks is supposed to stretch defenses and turn on the burners. We really haven't seen that, and is he can have the time for even Cooks to get down 25 yards. So, I mean, Niners will win if I guess I'll just go with what I just mentioned before. I mean, if this becomes a shootout and it's over the 20s, Niners are going to win. If they put up 24 points, I think that means they walk away with the win.
Yeah. Zach?
49ers win if
They show up. Don't give me that either.
I mean, no, I think it's going to come down to the pass protection. In another big game, we didn't block somebody.
It's a good point.
He destroyed somebody's arm.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very interested to see how they do that against a great pass rush and all that, and see if it works, because we're going to only face better teams throughout the season anyway. We haven't really we played Aaron Donald, but we play him every year. Not consistently like a Dallas defense. So I think it's going to come down to the offensive line, and if they can protect Dak. I mean, same way, Dak, and also with Brock Purdy. Yeah.
I think I projected San Fran to win. I just think I don't know if they there's so many ways. You got McCaffrey, you got Debo, you got Kittle. I just think if they protect Purdy and if Micah doesn't get home, if they're protecting Purdy, I think they win. I agree with Zach. Because Purdy, he's not going to lose the game. He's not going to lose it for him. And in Dallas, you want to have, if you need to sack him. So I think if you protect Purdy and he's got time to pass the ball, it's because they're going, you feel like they're going to run the ball. You feel like they're going to be able to. That's the staple of any, both Shanahans. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball really well. So if they protect Purdy, I think it's going to be a long day for Dallas. They really do. So going, we'll finish. Last question. Zach, bold prediction and final prediction.
Okay, I'm actually going to go higher on the points too, Aaron. I'm going to go because the last two games, we wanted the fireworks. We all wanted fireworks. Primetime game. Everybody wants a good offense to show. I want a little bit of offense. So I'm going to go, let's see, San Fran average is about 30, 31. We're going to go 31, 24.
For Dallas. Okay, awesome.
No.
You're picking Dallas. That's good. Great. Okay, 31-24. Aaron, what are you going?
All right, so I'm going Dallas 23 and San Francisco 20, and our defense closes out the game, and Purdy's not able to get them down into field goal range for Jake Moody to kick it in.
Oh, we didn't get what is your, if you had a bold prediction, Zach, what would your bold prediction be?
Dak throws 2 interceptions and loses a forced fumble.
That's not a bold prediction against San Fran.
That's pretty bold.
That's bold.
2 interceptions. I mean,
he did it last time we played him.
Okay.
So I have the same offensive score you do, Zach, 31 for San Fran. To me, I just think I picked them earlier. I think San Fran's a better team. I'm going 31-27. I think it's the same script with Dak. He has the ball at the end. It doesn't get it done. And my bold prediction, I said this to you earlier this week, Zach. I think McCaffrey has 200 plus yards. I just don't know if Dallas can stop him. I think he has at least $125 rushing, and I think he has another, 60 receiving. Last week he had 7 catches, 70 yards or something like that. I think McCaffrey feasts on this less than impressive Dallas defense, and I think Purdy. The prediction that Purdy needs that offensive line, I think it happens because San Fran's going to be up, and when Dallas has other teams up against them, they can't rush the quarterback. So I hate to say it as a Cowboys host of a podcast, I'm picking San Fran, but I just got to be real. I think this is a team that what I've seen with Dallas this season so far, they're not in that upper echelon of team yet.
Okay. Well, I think they convince you. I predict that they're going to convince you that they are. I did have the Cowboys losing this game because I initially thought both teams would be 4-0. And as fans, we could just all grab our popcorn and be like, okay, if it's one loss, let's enjoy the show. But because we got that Cardinals upset, I think this team is refocused and a little bit more hungry, because I feel like we have a little bit more on the line than the Niners. So for that reason, I think we come in a little bit more sharp and focused than we otherwise would. But now if we do lose, I hope that we are exposed in as many ways as possible. So that way we can, make the right adjustments by the time we get into, late November.
I love that idea because to me, I do think Dallas needs to make a big move. Like I've said all year, I'd really like to go get Aaron Donald. So I'm kind of hoping you're right. If we lose, we get exposed big time. Jerry Jones, it's because Jerry Jones already said it this week. He said San Fran's the class. You know, he talked about, he really talked about San Fran. And I know, Jerry's the type of dude that's not going to just put it out there to put it out there. Like he believes it. I'm sure he does. He's watched it the last 2 seasons. But I agree with you there. If we lose, I hope it's a shellacking so they know what they need to go get done.
And now I want to get your guys' thought on this. So actually 2 questions for you, Zach. First question, do you think the Niners will sweep the Seahawks this year again? And second question, what happens to the power rankings if the Cowboys win by 10?
Well, chances are we'll probably lose 1 game to a division opponent. It'll probably be Seattle. So I would say we would split with Seattle. We're probably going to lose 4 or 5 games anyway, like most teams. So you got to pick them anyway. And what was the other question? I'm sorry.
What happens to the power rankings if the Cowboys win this game by 10 points?
Probably the same thing that'll happen to the power rankings if the Lions when they beat the Chiefs. Everybody knows the Chiefs are the Chiefs. You get what I'm like? My point is, like, I think even if Dallas wins, let's just say they win by 4 or 5, 6, 7 points. Come January, if both teams are still rolling the way they are, I'm not nervous. I still think San Fran's the better team, even if they lose on Sunday. That's just now I'm a Niner fan, but I haven't been this Jay can tell you, I haven't been this confident about a Niners team. I don't think our entire friend.
You had them losing to Pittsburgh, bro. I had to talk you off the ledge against Pittsburgh.
A lot of people were talking up Pittsburgh, okay? A lot of people were talking up Pittsburgh. But yeah, I'm very confident in the quarterback situation with the running back, the defense. I mean, injuries just derail us. So as long as we're healthy, I'm confident.
Yeah, I mean, now, so the 2 years ago, Niners were one of the hottest teams going in the playoffs, right? So that's why they came into AT&T Stadium. They were, I guess, on a 9-game winning streak or 6-game winning streak, something along those lines. So you guys were smoking hot. So momentum matters going into the playoffs. You certainly don't want to be playing your best football, September through November. You want to start heating up in December. So, I think that's why I'm not going to lose, a whole lot of sleep. That's why I'm more concerned about the schedule and total wins, losses to see where we fit. If Cowboys are a wild card team going in, I'm going to be a little bit more nervous around our chances, opposed to being, having the first home game. So we'll see how things shake out. But man, oh man, I'm going to be pumped all day. I'm going to be watching Red Zone, like, hurry up, man. Let's get this moving.
I may just sleep all day till about 8 o'clock, just get ready for it. Well, there we have it. I think, we have a 2-1 for San Fran. I don't like it. I hate that I had to say it. We have two of the hosts saying San Fran, Mr. Aaron James, the other host, Dallas. I want Dallas to win, but I think we all can agree team for team. I just think San Fran's a better team right now. So we really appreciate everyone for watching. Everybody that checked us out. Give us a like on Facebook. Give us a like on Twitter, on Instagram. Cowboys Takeover Podcast. We are back up. We are all caught up on Spotify. This one, caught up on all the streams. So we really appreciate you guys and the support and the love we've been getting. We'll give it. Let's go Cowboys. Let's go Cowboys. Let's hope for the win. I know I'm not confident, but if they win, I think it tells a lot about this team. And like Mr. Aaron James said, I think we're going to come in. We're going to be ready. We appreciate you all. Love you guys. Go Cowboys.